So this might be I don't know if anyone is, let's get the microphones up. Let's check it. We got a different layout tonight. Welcome everyone. How are you doing? It's this is for future viewers because presently, and as you, I guess, introduce and I'll go check things.
Sounds good. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good week. And we're about to get started talking about a pretty interesting and controversial topic, which is social media use today. And this is for everybody, not just for students, but also it could be teachers, any adult really it applies to. So, we mentioned it last week that we were going to be talking about social media because it kind of comes up every episode in some way, shape, or form. It always gets me fired up. But because I see so many people on their phone all the time, so in some way, shape, that's me. It just seems like it's a topic that needs to be discussed because it's not something that's, I think, discussed much. It's just kind of assumed that that's just normal behavior. Whatever everyone's doing is just normal. You're on your phone X amount of time. It's just normal. It is what it is. So what we did is we sent out a poll. The first question for the poll was: using social media can cause sadness, dissatisfaction, frustration, loneliness, depression, anxiety, and stress. And then it was a degree to disagree range. And we had the most responses we had nearly 800 this time.
Just so you know, as we go through these, if you let me know the next one, I'll show it as and when we get to that section of the poll.
Yeah, so we could just talk. We'll just stop and talk about the first one for a few minutes here. So there's 22.6%, 178 students or people who were polled said they strongly agree that using social media can cause sadness, dissatisfaction, frustration, loneliness, depression, anxiety, and stress. 34.8%, that's 275 people polled, agreed. So right there, that's 56% roughly.
Yeah,
More than half would agree to some degree. And then neutral was about 30%, which is 238.
What I want to interject right here is the neutrals. I would argue that a great majority of the neutrals right now, they're learning themselves.
Yeah.
They're not in touch. They just get up and react to the world day by day. So it's not something I think that they're truly in tune with yet. Maybe down the road they will.
I don't think the average person wants to think about it that way.
Yeah.
Because it would also mean that they would have to change if they identify that as a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
They might have to change a significant part of what they're doing with their time.
What do you think, Dan? Oh, sorry.
Not nice. But again, the neutral stand, I think that when you have any poll, like people go to the middle because it's easier to just stay in the middle as opposed to go to a side. Because again, if you go one way, you're saying, okay, I need to change some of the things that I'm doing. And on the other side, you're then questioning yourself whether or not it's true. Right. So I can understand why that number would be so high.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then in the last two, for disagree was 7.2, and then for strongly disagree was 5.4, which that totals about 100 kids, 110 kids for that, which totals 12% in the disagree category. But to the credit, it 56%, and that made me think about, as a parent or as a teacher, as an individual, if there was a new product on the market.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say what the product is, but they had a warning that came out with this product. And let's just say it was, on a commercial. And it said, using this product can cause sadness, dissatisfaction, frustration, loneliness, depression, anxiety, and stress. No matter what it is, would you give that to your child? Would you want someone to be using that? If 56% of the people using it admit to that being the case.
Yeah, but on the again, saying that and hearing it that way, I think that'll be like a shock value for a lot of people. But it's like now that it's in their hands, it's like, how do parents combat? And I guess that's what we'll talk a little bit about later, but how do you help them to pull away from it without creating this conflict where then your kid is like ready to chew your head off because you don't want them spending that much time on the screen. And I think that that's the other thing that we have to really talk about is then how are we managing it?
One of the things as well that hopefully we'll touch a little bit on is the algorithms and how things are geared and engineered and set for for lack of a better expression, failure. Facebook knows that Instagram knows, same company, that especially females are adversely affected by social media, Instagram, comparing themselves to others, the cyberbullying that's going on.
Yeah,
They know,
self-esteem, it's a whole thing. Yeah.
they know this is the outcome, yet it's that scroll kind of on the hamster wheel kind of mentality. I get wrapped up in it,
Yeah.
and next thing you know, an hour's gone by, 2 hours gone by, and as you're a young kid, maybe a young student, is not too important, but it is. But even as an adult, I could be building, empires with that time.
Yeah, well, that's the point. I think that's the other, definitely going to get into the addictive qualities, but that's the other part of this. If you're saying it can cause these things, right?
Yeah.
Like any kind of drug has to put that out there, right?
Yeah.
They have the label that says this can be harmful too, and they have to say it. But at the same time, you mix that with the addictive qualities to it, and you're giving it to a teenager, or you're giving it to kids as young as whatever, 10,
10, 11.
Yeah, and they have
9.
the phone, and they're on this thing by themselves most of the time, right? If they're in their room, in their house, whatever. Should that be the norm, right? That's kind of the question, because the reason that it is the way it is because it is the norm, right? Like a kid wants it because their friends have it. If their friends don't have it, they don't ask for it, probably, right? So there gets to be a point where everybody else has one.
Peer
now
pressure.
I want one, right?
Yeah.
No, because now it's almost like now you need one.
Yeah.
So it's not even a matter of just for the teens, because it would be very hypocritical to tell a child or a student, don't get off your phone, blah, 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 get off your phone. And then they're sitting on their phone all day.
Right.
Right. So it's everybody. It's adult, because it's not just the kids who are on their phones all the time. It's everybody. You go to a restaurant, it's phone. You go to the airport, wherever, everyone's on their, it's constant. So it's really an issue that's much more broad. And again, they were talking about people who, as adults, knew what it was like not to have a phone. They grew up without it. So they know the benefits of it. They know the idea of like, oh, I didn't have to depend on that. I was able to have a childhood. I was outside. I was doing all these things because I didn't have that phone.
I actually knew numbers
social.
by heart.
Right.
I could actually memorize numbers and remember things and
Or
be able to call
you'd have to
someone
call
without it.
you'd have to call
Yeah.
somebody and talk and ask to talk to their child, right?
Yeah.
Because they weren't answering the phone usually. They'd be like, "Hi, Mr. So and So, can I talk to someone?"
Yeah. But
And
think about those social skills that
right,
are now
that's the
lacking.
point. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just the idea of
I'm
it's
stuck.
not. It's also not. It's also a matter of respect. And it's also on the up and up too. It's like you're talking to somebody on the home phone, and you're in a spot where people probably know, or at least they
Can
know you're talking to.
hear.
Yeah. So it's not this secretive thing where it's like you're FaceTiming, or it's like I don't know who you're talking to or who you're texting. It's not. It's very private now, all of those conversations, which can also create more problems.
Yeah, so many different problems. I'll talk about one or two that I've encountered over the years. But look, I mean, well, we're not quite there yet. So I got a story or two I'll relate to.
Yeah,
down
so let's
the
go
road.
to want to go to the next question, which is how much time a day on average, daily average, do you spend on the phone? And it talks about how you can check access that. And anyone at home can always check this as well. You go, especially if you have an iPhone, you go to settings and then you just check your screen time. And we had a variety of different options it went up by hour. So 0 to 1, there were 7 responses that said less than an hour.
Crazy.
Of the nearly 800. 7 people said less than an hour. 1 to 2 hours was 31 people. And then it starts to go up from there. 2 to 3 hours was 56 people. And then it starts getting, actually, you see the percentages finally after you get to 3 to 4. 3 to 4 is 12.3%. 97 people had that. And then you go up to 4 to 5, 18.6%, which is the highest number. 146 people have that one. 5 to 6 is at 16.3. 6 to 7, 15.8%, which is 124 students. And then 7 to 8 is 11.2%, which is 89 students. And then 110 people who were surveyed, 14% are more than 8 hours. So if you just took the top 4, which means 5 hours or better, you're talking about around 58%. are more than 5 hours a day on
But
their
does
phone.
that surprise you?
Not really, but at the same time, you think about how long is a school day?
Hey,
That's like the
Yeah.
school, like
Yeah.
that's active, and that's while they're in school. I'm talking about like this is we've had since this was polled, we've had all days that we were in school except for Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
So this is the average of what it would be like during a normal school year. It's not like they were just on vacation
Right.
for a week and then did this, where they were just at home.
Yeah.
Like if we did this January 2nd, it would be different, right? It would probably be a lot worse.
I actually keep tabs on my seniors, and I can tell there's several of them, and what they do is they text very inappropriate stuff. It's on the school computers. It's cataloged. All the words are there.
Yeah.
All the words that they shouldn't be using in school are there. I have students with like 75 web browser tabs open at one time. Just the computer, the way that the computer works and the memory and all that tech stuff is not good to have that number of windows open at any one time. If you're trying to be an artist or a designer, it uses up all the resources. But I kind of handle it. I don't want to police it where it's to a point where everyone's getting written up, but I do kind of fire a shot across the bow. You shouldn't be texting on the computers. When it's blatant and I see it and it's open, I'll say, look, you might as well be texting on your phone. I don't allow phones. I said one of the number one issues when we have students go to co-op is the number one complaint is the students are on the phones way too much. And I said, I want you to get in trouble here in class, learn those hard lessons. It doesn't matter. I'll be the bad guy, but I just want you to understand that not to have the phones out while you're in a place of business that's employing you.
Yeah.
And even as they're doing their work, I'm saying, look, you're goofing off, you're sitting around, you're facing each other, just, your computer's the other way to start with. But just to let them know that, look, time is valuable. And if you're spending it on your phone, you're doing social media or texting, that boss I used to have a boss that said, I've marked that tree for chopping. And if he catches you second, third time, you might not even get a warning.
Yeah.
In school, we got to be PC, we got to
Yeah.
be polite, we got to give everyone their due diligence and what have you. But in a place of employment, it's their rules.
Yeah.
So this is one of the reasons I try and kind of teach a few lessons along the way.
You bring up a good point about, the value of time,
Mhm.
which is something that is not infinite, right? So as much as we value money and all that kind of stuff, time is the one thing that people, usually take for granted more than anything else. And when you start looking at those numbers and you start thinking about how much time you're spending on your phone, if it's on social media and things that are just kind of what I would refer to as time wasters, I mean, what are we doing? I mean,
but that's the thing. Maybe it's, and I think that we've discussed this before in previous episodes, right? It's like, okay, is it more so that they don't know what else to do? Like
Yeah.
they haven't figured out, or they haven't tried to figure out, which
Yeah.
is the other part of it.
Mhm.
Like their interests, their values, what's important to them other than this, because this is what they know now, And I think that that's something exploratory that like the students really need to start to think about. Adults really need to start to think about, like, how else could you be spending your time? What else could you be doing?
I want to mention one real quick thing that happened the other day, and I think it leads to it equates to what we're talking about. We went out to my wife's car because I brought some wood in for a shelf. Some books got donated, so I had all the students carry the wood back to the class. And what happened was I saw that there was like a bit like a litmus test where you see like all the separation of the colors up the paper, right? As you're doing, you dip it in the fluid and you see the colors kind of separate. I saw all the students separate on the way back from the car, and I had some of the more time conscious, more conscientious students up front. I had some other students lagging behind. They were in the middle. And the further and further back you went, I looked at it and I'm like, it was afterwards, I should have taken a photo, because literally it showed their attention in class by level. Those right at the back, the same sort of, is like they kind of gave themselves up in a sense to show that, and the ones up front were very eager and like, come on. And they were the like the top performers, and some that weren't in front, there was a bit of psychology there. They didn't want to be the leaders, but some of those were the leaders, and the ones right at the back, there's some of the goofballs, not all of them, but it was just, it was really awesome just to like, whoa. And I want to do that again with future students. Before any grading happens, I want to take a photograph and see if that predicts future outcomes. But it was interesting.
I'm also curious how many of them were trying to look at their phones on the walk back in.
Most of them were on their
right.
Yeah, most
like
of them were
you're
on their
outside.
phones.
They probably enjoyed like being outside and going and doing this task, but it was like as soon as the task was over, it's like, what do I do?
Look, I mean, they asked me today, Jones, is this your most favorite class to date? And I had to think, and I said, you know what? Despite all the stuff that goes on, they're on social media and the texting and not always paying attention. But I said, you know what? You guys are. You are my favorite class to date. But by virtue of the fact that I'm a different me now, and I'm not like gunning to be in charge. You will obey. But anyway,
I mean, the thing is too, this is we always have to kind of remind, this is not indictment on the students or the generation or anything, because it's literally everybody. When we go to a faculty meeting, I mean, you probably
just as bad,
50% or more on their phones anyway. It's a societal issue that we're talking about, and that's why it makes it so difficult for the younger generation to see it as a problem, because they don't see the older generation seeing it as a problem. They're like, well, we're just doing what we see.
Right.
So how is, and they might be on different sites and they might be doing different things, but the usage of the phone is an epidemic, really. So just the idea of spending more than 8 hours a day on your phone. I realize that a lot of this is generational to a certain degree, because a lot of them don't watch television. They'll watch something on their phone, right? So their phone is like the TV. So, my generation would have been like, we watched 4 hours of TV. That 4 hours is built into the phone usage, right? So it's not all that different, I guess, from that perspective. But at the same time, we couldn't binge things. There was no such thing as binge watching anything, before whatever year it was, right? Before like Netflix and stuff. There was
recording it.
Yeah, you'd literally, it would be like an episode a week for a half hour, and you have to watch that episode. Because when would you even play a rerun?
You recorded over my show.
It would be on a VHS and stuff.
Recording it on a VHS.
Or literally, you'd have to look in like the TV guide or something. It would tell you like the recap of what happened on the show. Like last week, this is
you
what
missed
happened.
it. Oh,
right.
well.
Yeah, that's what would happen though. So you literally had to sit down. You had to organize your time and say, I'm going to sit down at 8 o'clock to 8:30. I'm going to watch Boy Meets World. And then that was it. But now it's like, I'm going to watch season 1 of Boy Meets World, or I'm going to watch all the seasons of it.
All of Grey's Anatomy.
Right.
I have a kid that's watching all of it.
Right. Oof. And some of them do it for like a second or third time they're on it. Like, so then it becomes, at what point is that a productive use of your time? As far as accomplishing things, because that's what we're going to get to in a little bit. What are they sacrificing with that time being spent?
Well, look, I mean, not to blow my own horn, but a lot of my students look at some of the things that I create from time to time, and they're blown away. And I tell them, look, you can do all of this yourself. You can do it all. But what does it take? It takes sitting down and just doing some monotonous stuff in a creative way, and at the end you end up with a thing. But if you were to take the number of hours that they're working on, they're working at watching their thing, and they're bored, right? A lot of them are watching it. Maybe, if we asked as well, how many of you are bored and you're just watching stuff? The other part of this equation is, again, they don't know who they are. They don't know what they like. So they're just filling their time, meanwhile. But what did we do? We went outside. We played. I played in the woods and what, depending on where we lived, I was very like a countryside type of
Like
thing.
I was on the basketball court for hours,
Yeah.
had nothing better to do.
Yeah.
Oh, I was down
And
the
that was
park.
okay.
I was
Yeah.
getting beat up. I was getting chased after.
Living life.
Then I went to the gym, and all that ended because I was the man.
And
Oh my
then you were doing the chasing.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing. That's what boggles my mind is that rather than even playing video games, now they're watching somebody play video games. So there's
Yeah.
the separation.
Watching someone eat.
Yeah, it's everything. And that's the thing. I would have no problem if the person, the individual, anyone, whoever it is, said, I'm doing this. I'm the doer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the watcher.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one creating the content, right? Then they're doing something, right? Anyone who has the personal business and is using the social media forum to get at the people who are addicted to it and maximizing their opportunity to build their business, I think that's genius. But it's the other side. It's the ones who are the consumers
Right.
who are
Just eating it up.
who are the
right?
problem, right? That's where you're kind of saying, well, what are you contributing to society? Are you just the observer?
Yeah.
And are you going to be the observer of your life? Like, is that what your role is? Are you just a passive, observer of your life, or are you going to be the star?
I got to be sensitive about this one, but I know someone, nothing to do with school, but I know someone that was recently called an observer, right? And they took it to heart because socially they don't know where they fit in. And they kind of feel like they're left out a little bit in some instances, but the skills and the talents that they have, they use a typical amount of teenage social media, I guess, but the amount of time that they're using developing their skills, sometimes watching is taking it all in. You're soaking it all in, all the characters and stuff that they'll future end up creating and drawing it and what have you. But yeah, I think there's different levels to that. I had to respond because it was very much on the nose as to what was said to this individual. They probably aren't watching, but just in case.
Yeah, it does kind of scare me a little bit because you as a teacher, you're trying to instill a sense of like a go-get-it attitude, right? For all the kids, you're just trying to say like, I want you to be passionate about something. I want you to be active in your life and take advantage of this time being a teenager and not dwell and stress over things that don't really matter that much in the broad scheme of things.
That's the students of the month, right? Every single student of the month I see, they're just 100% on all the time, more or less, because I've had a couple of them in my class, and it's just amazing to watch them. You think they're good, like, what are you doing now? And you go up because you know what work looks like, and I'm looking down, I'm like, he's texting, and he's doing this, that, and the other. I go up and he's got like notes on what to do next, and like Sahaf, was it Sahaf Chowdhury? But Sahaf, anyway, student of the month for October. He came to see me today. So
Shout out to my student of the month that's coming soon. Can't tell you who it is though.
Oh, nice. I got to make sure I get those email addresses so I can interview them for the school podcast.
So it just, like I said, it's a little disheartening when you see them just being the observer.
Oh, going back.
ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I lost my thought because my brain doesn't always work. But with TikTok, like everybody was in this craze about like TikTok and like watching things, and like even my mom is like really young. I feel like I'm the older of the two of us, and that's completely fine with me. Hi, Mom. But she's like, oh, we need to do this dance. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not doing it. But again, it was like I had like one day where I was like just scrolling through, and I was like, and I haven't gone back on TikTok since. Like I haven't used it, but it's like that whole idea of like, now I feel like there's a disconnect. Like there's things on TikTok that maybe I should be knowing about, but I missed it. And I'm like, I guess I'm just missing it. I'm missing a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Every night before we go to bed, we lie in bed. She said, shall we? I'm like, sure. and she plays Instagram reels, and we're like, oh, look at that! There's all like kitten stuff and dogs falling over or pushing over food, just silly things. But we have a laugh before we go to bed each night.
But with both kids and adults, I wonder if that's part of it too. This whole like, am I missing something? Like, is there
Yeah,
something that I'm
FOMO.
missing
Yeah.
so that I'm gonna
Yeah.
make sure that I'm on it so that I don't miss anything and I can always be a part of the conversation, a part of what's happening. I'm like, nope, I'm just not a part of it.
I tell you, FOMO, fear of missing out, is a subject that weaves in and out of so many different topics, right? From crypto to well, that's about it, really. You're welcome, America. No, but it's just it is that from the movies I watch or the TV shows I watch,
Yeah.
I can watch anything at any time. But if something's on TV, you know, it's like, oh, it's on right now, I should watch it. I feel like I'm missing out, you know, if I don't watch it. So
I think it's particularly bad with social media stuff.
Yeah.
Just because people might say, "Hey, did you see that?" or "Did you see what they posted?" or whatever, and there's this immediate kind of fear of like, "Oh, I got to go see what it is. Like, I need to know what's going on."
Yeah.
But that kind of is a good lead into the next question, which was about which social media platforms do you use? To which, again, of our 787 responses, the majority was Instagram. Or, well, I mean, a lot of people actually use YouTube, obviously, but that's a part of it, YouTube. But TikTok is about 85%, Instagram's 86%, Twitter is down for this generation to 36.5%. Snapchat's still kind of high at 77%. Facebook's really low for this generation at 8.4%. That's an old person thing, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And then
That's a me
Pinterest.
thing. Thanks.
Yeah, it's the only one I have, actually. Pinterest is at 42%. Reddit's at 13%. Google Messenger or Google Chat is 15%. Discord, which I had no idea what that was until my students told me to put it on here, 37%. WhatsApp, which I don't know what that is either, 27%. And then there's just a plethora of other little many things on there that aren't, some of them aren't even necessarily.
Again, even with like WhatsApp, it's just another messaging system where you
Right.
can message like multiple people at once. So it's like instead of doing it all in like
As a text message.
right,
Yeah.
they're doing it in WhatsApp. So.
Although I would say that if you're going to use WhatsApp, use your noggin, get off WhatsApp, use something like Signal. Because every time you type stuff into WhatsApp, Facebook knows exactly what you're talking about. They search all the words that you type, no matter how much you think you're being secretive. Facebook knows everything.
But they're not on Facebook.
No,
Doesn't matter.
but that's
Kids aren't.
yeah, the kids aren't on Facebook, but WhatsApp is a Facebook app, so they now know everything. So all the ads that they see,
Okay.
and it's just future proofing as well. So get off that and put it into, tell everyone to get into something like Signal. Amino, what's that? That's an acid. That's a building block of protein, of which there's 8 essential amino acids.
Yeah.
Sorry, wrong subject.
They told me to take out Tumblr and put in Discord, but again, this is the TikTok generation, right? But again, what I was trying to tell my students is that TikTok, it has the same, method of getting you addicted as all the ones that came prior,
Yeah.
right? So everything was just kind of perfected.
Yeah.
And then they say, now we're going to push out something for this next batch. And then in 3 or 4 years, there's going to be something new on here. And then the number for TikTok's going to be down. And Facebook's going to be off this list.
That's
and
what it
it's
is,
going to
though.
be like
It just
bubble
cycles
gum.
through.
Bubble gum's the new thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen. So, and it's all the same algorithm. It's all the same type of thing. And it's the addictive quality. It's the immediacy of it. It's that you could be on there for 5 minutes and then you hit the scroll and now there's 3 new things to look at. And if you have more than one of these things, right? If you're talking about having TikTok, Instagram, and let's say you're on Snapchat and YouTube a lot, that could take up hours right there.
Yeah.
Like you could literally sit down for 5 minutes on the couch and an hour can go by.
Yeah.
And you might say to yourself, what just happened? Like nothing was completed that was like a check off of a to-do list.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you got any kind of great satisfaction. It was just literally like time stood still, but it didn't stand still.
Yeah.
I mean, you can equate this as well to health. So even if you look at this compared to I'm not saying our generation is better. My health isn't great at all, but if you look at the stats and the number of hours that it takes to be sitting down next to smoking, and actually some people argue that sitting down is just as dangerous as smoking. So if you're not exercising, the compounded effect of all of that, I tell my students over the years, be careful how much you push your body when you're younger. It will let you know that you used to push a lot when you're older. And I think we're going to see a lot of ramifications down the road, for all this social media. So just from a health perspective.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're focusing on mental health, but I mean, there is a cyclical effect of if it impacts their mental health because they feel like they're not competing on a physical level with what they're seeing. That's a mental health issue, and it also can be the physical health because they're on social media looking at stuff, so they're not doing really anything about it either in some cases, or they're developing a problem with it. The next question was identification of whether or not they feel they use social media too much, to which I definitely do, was 27.7%. I probably do was 46.5%. So you're talking about 75% right there of people who admit to using it too much. Doesn't mean they're going to change it. I don't think so is at 22%, and only 3.7% said I definitely don't. So I felt that was a pretty telling data point there, just from perspective of students being honest about and reflecting and saying, yeah, it's probably too much.
I wonder how much of that is also like how many people have told them already that they use it too much, but then if anything hasn't happened. Because I feel like even like sometimes before we had a child and we're on our phones a little more frequently, I'd be like, what are you even looking at? Like, what are you looking at? We're supposed to be watching this together, know? And you always used to like check them on it, and it's like I wonder how many people are doing that, whether it's adults, like are you checking your spouse, significant other, partner, or whatever, and the kids, like are your parents checking you all the time? So it's like, is that the answer, that they're just more aware because people keep telling them that they are, but it's not changing?
I used to get told off all the time for checking social media, but I would argue at the time.
Who would it be though?
What do you mean?
Who would tell you off about it, or who would check?
Dee, my wife.
Oh, okay.
So, my girlfriend.
No, I'm just saying, like, but so, if it's students, if it's, you know what I mean, like it could be just depending on who it is. You know what I mean? It's just more of like.
Oh wait, there. Where are we? There we are. Sorry, got all flustered. Look, I mean, I used to social media. Because I've always had different things on the go, be it creative, the meditation stuff, and now mellow. It was about building communities. So for me, it was all about social media. That was my business. And even though at the same time I wanted to stop, I've had a YouTube channel, another YouTube channel since, maybe 15, 16, 17, a long time, and almost 9 million views, over 32,000 subscribers. Small, but not terrible. It pays the car bill each month. But the other aspect of this is the berating, the constant attacks, how strong are you, and how long are you willing. I think possibly a lot of the students aren't even recognizing yet that things are affecting them negatively because they still got a high threshold. But one day when maybe they've had a car accident, their parents are shouting them for this, that, and the other, they lost that $20 bill in their pocket, and they're just going to read that one comment, wherever it might be. And it's always like a build up of all these things. And then, boom, is like, I can't take anymore.
Yeah.
And I've been pretty quiet for over a year now on that channel. But, I want to do more, but you kind of got to build yourself back up as a creator to be able to put yourself out there again, to be ridiculed again.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. That's a part of it, though.
Every week I cry.
You know, just because I had someone come in today and just talking about like social media, and I had a student come in and just talk about how a rumor was started, and think about how much faster
Yep.
things spread
We were
with
so lucky.
social media, and like it was on Snapchat, it was this, it was that, and I'm just like, I can't even fathom how fast. And she's like, people that don't even go here know, you know?
Right.
So
Yep.
it's like, just think about, like, talk about mental health and those kids that are saying that it doesn't affect them, but has it affected someone that's around you? I think that that's the other question. Like,
Yeah.
have you noticed it affecting someone else if it's not affecting you?
And it's their whole world. So it's much bigger than we can, there's things I might even touch on today. We'll see how everything plays out. But it's just, I've had children through the early era of social media, and being a parent through those times. Like, I've publicly told off my children, for doing certain things because just because I'm the dad, it's like, you shouldn't be blah, blah, blah. And the ramifications of those actions, no one ever, not that, look, I should have had common sense, number one, but number two, just, again, your ego kicks in. I'm your dad. You should be listening. And even though they did something silly or not the best choice at the time, I probably made a worse choice.
Yeah.
So
That's the public shame type of thing. That's what it is. And there's a lot of that out there, where parents are doing that with their kids, and they try, sometimes they try to come off as like, see what a good parent I am. See how tough I am as a parent. Cause they'll be like, yeah, you're going to do that. I'm going to cut your hair. And then, or whatever it is, they do something where it's like embarrassing.
Yeah.
And then you try to, it almost come, there was a time period where that was very common, actually. I think it's kind of gone the other side now where people are more conscious of it. But, there was, I think there was like an influence not too long ago where she was recording telling her son to cry more or cry differently because she was recording something for her channel and she was talking to her kid, and the kid's like 5.
Wow.
And she's like, no, when you're crying, turn your head so people need to see your face. And the kid's literally
That's
crying
awful.
about something. And then people were like ripping her. But again, this person was put into a position where she's an influencer, and just that whole concept of it. Like, why are we allowing these people to influence them? Who are these people? Why are we listening to them?
I'm a micro influencer.
And really quickly before you go on, just who's out there? How are we doing?
Yes.
And anyone want to check in
Thank
if
you.
you're out there with us?
Thank you, all 7 viewers.
Yeah, if they have any
You
comments,
are rock stars.
Yeah, anything that you want to add about some of the things that we're talking about, any input or feedback that you want to give, any experiences that you want to share, please go ahead.
Just so you know as well, in the future, we will be putting up, it's just logistics and how we're going to technically do it. There is a phone that you'll be able to call in at some point. But it's something that we need to just figure out and talk about how we're going to handle that during the show. Because if a phone call happens, it happens in this room. But anyway, so yeah, we just lost the viewer.
Sorry, too much pressure. My bad.
We don't know who you are. All right. So going to the next question, we had, do you feel social media has had an impact on, click all that apply, relationship with friends, relationship with family, activity, social interactions, self-esteem, and my ability to get things done in a timely manner? So the highest number, not surprising, was the ability to get things done in a timely manner at 77%. So you talk about an issue of what many students each year come in and they identify something they want to improve on at the beginning of the year. Day one, they almost to the kid say, I want to stop procrastinating.
Yep.
Right. This is the one with the bars. It's actually it's the one before that.
I mean,
That
time
one?
management. I mean, they're coming in with
no,
some lack
before
of
that. Two
skills with
after that.
time management, and then think about just coming
That one?
back to school from from the pandemic and just trying to figure things out and figure out how to manage all these different
it.
personalities, different teachers, right? So it's definitely something that they always say they want to improve on, but that's not helping. Like, this
Right.
isn't helping.
Oh,
It's got and the thing is, having taught for the last 18 years, seeing the progression and seeing it only getting worse, right? Like at this point, I have no idea where this is going to go. It's got to get to a point of diminishing returns, or at some point you can't get to like 20 hours on the phone each day, right? So you just got to wonder at what point is the number going to like plateau.
well, I got some very bad news for you. Let's see. Let's do this for once. I hate doing this. Excuse me. So there's a lot of rebelliousness going on right now with the metaverse and how things are going. But watching back years ago when Web 1.0 came out, that was very much about, I think I said previously, it's just like a business card. Oh no, as an interview, business card online. You went and visited it, you got the information. Web 2.0 was you got your phone with you every single place you go, every business you cross. They know if you're walking, they know if you're driving. They're able to catalog. It was big data. They know everything, single thing about you, down to conversations and what have you. So then Web 3.0, which is where we're entering now, plus augmented reality, virtual reality. I think things are going to get a lot more. We're going to be having 5 years from now. I think definitely many of us will have headsets. I can't wait to get one. I'll be sending my parents one, to sit down and to sit at a virtual table. Meanwhile, I can look at my mum and dad, I can look at my brothers, and we can all break bread with each other virtually. That's coming. That's already here.
Yeah.
So it's just people need to people will be getting on board with it, because big business like Facebook, they're going with it. All the major video suppliers, they all got their own version of it. I mean, this is some of the stuff that I'm teaching my digital media, and just letting all my students know that even if they don't want to be graphic designers, they might be future designers of the worlds that we're actually going to be walking around in. So those jobs, some of those jobs don't even exist yet, and we can't even imagine where it's all going. But I had an espresso before we started.
Well, so that's not a world I want to live in, but I guess it's coming no matter what.
Yeah.
All right. So again, that's just impact. So they recognize that, relationship with friends, 52% say that. And again, this didn't necessarily equate to either positive or negative. It just means impact. It could have been a positive thing that they had, or a negative experience. Relationship with family, 36%. Activity, social interactions is at 60%. And self-esteem is at 60%. So the idea of it having an impact is there. They recognize that it's there, for better or worse. And they mentioned in their individual quotes, their overall view of social media, the largest number there, 71.4%, said it's equal parts good and bad. The next highest was it's more bad than good at 14.1. And then after that, it was more good than bad is at 9.3. So they really stayed in the middle on that one quite a bit. They didn't want, and I think, again, I don't think they want to really recognize it as being a major problem either. And then the last thing that we had on here was identify any of the negative experiences you had on social media. Click all that apply. We had things from being cyberbullied, which is 11%, or 88 people have admitted to being cyberbullied. Being involved in a misunderstanding online, which is about 20%, 153 people identified that. Being overwhelmed by the drama, 30%. Feeling worse about yourself or your life compared to others, 41%. Feeling pressure to post content to get likes or comments, 21%. Feeling pressure to post content to make them look better for others, 25%. Having blocked or unfollowed somebody for disagreeing with their opinions, 31%. Being catfished, which I didn't expect many to be, but 62 people said they've been catfished. That's 8%. Feeling bad about their physical appearance, 44.5%, 350 people.
That's an incredible amount, isn't it?
Yeah. And again, that's not surprising. I actually thought it would have been more
higher.
too.
Yeah. I've been catfished.
Oh,
That's for our paid membership only.
That's a whole show.
Yeah, it's a whole different show. I actually told her off in her own living room, then left.
Okay, well, that's fine. Neglecting their family, 14.4%, 113 people said that. Procrastinating for their schoolwork, 74.5%, 586. So again, when they complain about schoolwork and all that, I think parents look at that as the teachers are giving too much work, and not, well, what is their process of getting the work done?
Yeah.
And is that more of the issue if they're procrastinating on it and then they're waiting to the last second and they're going to bed really late? It's because of that.
A lot of parents, though, they're like, oh, but my child, they're on their computer all the time. But I'm like,
Yeah.
but do you know
Yeah.
if they're doing schoolwork on their computer that whole time? Because
Yeah.
the likelihood is that they're not.
Right. When they have 40 something tabs open, how many of their schoolwork?
Right. But don't forget, some parents, the ones that are a little more disconnected from the
Right.
technology, they're seeing them on a computer and they're like, oh, you have to be doing something productive because
Yeah.
you're on the device that
Yeah.
is meant to be productive.
And just
Right?
a reminder as well to all students doing things on your Chromebooks, remember whose property that is and who has access and sees all. So just be careful. It all gets logged.
And then another one was the I have gone to sleep much later than planned, 78%. So when you talk about some of the common issues that students will complain about is lack of sleep, stress, too much schoolwork, and again,
Time.
not enough time, and all of these things. And the reason that this topic is up is because how many of those things can you boil down to on their phone or using some kind of social media or whatever it is that's taking up that time, that's making them go to sleep later. It's not the schoolwork, really. It's not the expectation of it is a different world we're living in, and it's like giving the person something that they want and saying don't use it. Right?
If we were to cross-reference past polls where it said we don't have enough time, right? There's not enough time to do all this. And everyone's like, yeah, there's not enough time. But then the majority of students are on over 8 hours a day on their social media accounts. It pretty much solves itself at that point, doesn't it?
So why don't we just take a second and talk about what is our view? Because in a second we could talk about like the student's perspective, because we had the last question, which was how does using social media impact your mood? How do you use social media, or what is your phone usage kind of based on or predicated on?
Yeah, right now it's basically text messages, a little Google Voice and Duo with my mother so that she can video with the baby. But it's a lot of like video with people that aren't here so that they can see Leo and Leo can like talk to them. And then the rest is like text messaging with friends, text messaging with my husband when, we need to communicate about the baby. But when I am on social media sites, it's like thinking about my younger self and how I would have been more impacted by it. And even looking at things now, and then I have the comparison problem where I'm looking at someone's body, I'm like, they had a baby. They had a baby, but I had a baby, but I don't look like that. Right. So again, like I can see how if even in right now, how it's negatively impacting me. I can't imagine what it's doing to our kids and their view of themselves.
What social media do you use?
Yeah, so I have what do I have? I have TikTok, but I haven't gone on it since that like very first day. I have Instagram, which that's where like I look up a lot of things like sensory things and different things for the baby, but then it's like, oh, look at this mom that, is doing all these things with her kids and why didn't I do that, So I do find myself going down that little hole often. And then I have Facebook, which I don't go on often. But yeah, those are the only ones that I have.
Yeah.
What
about you, Andrew?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, mine's been a bit of a journey. I'm not on as much as I used to. If it wasn't for family and a few select friends, I probably wouldn't be on Facebook anymore. Instagram, I use it because I'm trying to set up a business. I'm trying to get things up and running. Years ago, I won't get into the details here because it'd take up too much time, but I said something on a brand new social media site, and I think I was one of the bigger, if not one of the bigger users on the platform. And again, one of the dangers, right? You go down this tunnel of conversation, and I thought it was just, and I teach this stuff. Well, I didn't back then, but I said something that was only privy to me and no one else knew. And I outed someone in a very innocent way. But little did I realize the wrong people were listening.
Mm-hmm.
Found out that they got ultra mad, passed it on to the person that I was actually talking about. I haven't really spoken to them in a bunch of years. It's so long I can't even remember how long it's been. At least 4 or 5 years, and for that I'm kind of heartbroken. So it's yeah, just a cautionary tale, really, to, if you are on Facebook, don't go saying things just because you think you're down a private little avenue and only maybe one or two people that don't even know me are going to listen to it. That stuff's going to get
I
out.
think it's the opposite now. Like people say things because they know people are going to read it, see it, hear it.
Passive
Like
aggressively, yeah.
they want them to,
Yeah.
right? Whereas yours was an instant. Now like that will
Yeah.
never happen again,
Yeah.
type thing.
Yeah, but I mean, all the usual suspects: Facebook, Instagram. I'm trying to get back into the YouTube stuff again. Yeah, it's just, and along comes with that setting up Mellow. I got to do Twitter. I got to do Facebook. But then it's the realization that, I got to create a new account, and I'm going to have, do you know, I at one point I had 18 different email addresses. And,
Someone's talking out there. I
there
can't
we
read
go.
from this far away.
I use light themes to discourage myself from opening to discourage myself from opening my phone at night.
What is it?
So
light themes, like a phone lighting, like the lighting?
yeah,
on your
maybe it's like Fuzzy.
Please?
What do you mean by that?
Do you mean like a light colored screensaver or a background wallpaper, something like that?
I know you could also set up the way that you look at your, like the colors that are in the background and the stuff. Maybe it's something where it's harder to see, or maybe it's like super bright or something. I don't know what.
We really want to know.
Yeah, I want to use that.
One of the big ones for me right now, and is a constant source of.
I love that name though.
Yeah,
Ozzy Osbourne.
Fuzzy Osbourne. That's great.
Oh, there
Like
it is.
white backgrounds. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So super bright.
Yeah.
Smart thinking.
Yeah.
But whereas someone like myself, I'll be checking the crypto market. I'll get up in the middle of the night using the bathroom, and I'm there trying to do the face recognition. I'm just trying to get my eyeballs open enough so that it does it for me.
Yeah, but I mean, I think in both of your cases, you're using it more as a tool in most parts,
Got it.
right? You're using your phones.
It's Mr. Putt giving us some inputs on different things that you can do. And to credit my husband, he doesn't really have any social media. So it's like he's like, oh, like what happened? His mom will be like, oh, like somebody posted this picture, and he's like, oh, Liam, did you see that picture? And I'm like, oh, let me look right now to find it for you. But like he would only use Reddit. Like Reddit is his jam. He goes through. He doesn't post anything on it, but he's like looks at a lot of things. But what about you before you start?
Well, I only
Analyzing.
I only have Facebook, and I very rarely go on there. I never post anything on there. For the most part, it's more of a place that I could see what else is going on. Like just from like I could see like northjersey.com. I have like different things where I could see like news from the area or sport things that are going on, where they might say like, up to date things about, sporting stuff. But it's more and more, that's all I see. I don't even see the people.
So like
much
you're
anymore.
inside, you're really old.
Yeah, I don't have anything else. I've never had an Instagram. I've never had a Twitter. I view all of those things, honestly, from a very young, I view them all like drugs in a way.
Yeah.
I view it like cigarettes. Like I never got into cigarette smoking mainly because I was like, I don't want to have to spend the time and the money and the whatever to get into something. It was more about that than even my health.
You were an athlete. That is why.
That's part of it too. But it was more like, I don't want to get into something that I know could be addictive, that I don't want to have to fight against. And social media is exactly that. If you get it, there's a likelihood that you're going to get addicted to it, right? So I just don't want to get involved in it. And I see how many people are just on there, and the constant need to post this and that, and the idea that, oh, I haven't posted in a while, I got to do this, and people like photo dumps and stuff like that. It's like, I've always viewed it as like, I'm not that important that I feel like I have to put that stuff out there.
Yes, you are.
I view that I'm not. I'm like, who the hell cares what I'm doing, what I'm eating for lunch? I laugh at all that stuff. I'm like, they posted what they're having for dinner, and I see people at the restaurant backing up. There it is. There's my, and I just think to myself, like, what?
You could
What?
be eating that steak right now.
But it's
instead
like,
of taking the
but I just
picture.
think like, why? What is, unless they made it themselves and they're trying to show off, like, this is what I can do. You're at a restaurant and you're almost bragging like, I'm about to eat this. Just eat the damn thing. Like, what are you-
My wife and I were very guilty of that, but yeah, I don't know what it is. We're those sort of posters. I did think about joking and getting real granular with it. There's a few British shows that are really funny that way, you know. And how can I put this politely? You know, like, just went to the bathroom.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that's,
Just blew my nose.
yeah. Walking down the hallway now.
Yeah, walking down the hallway.
Got to the couch, made it all right, checking in.
But you imagine, like, that could be quite funny.
Exactly. But that's the thing. It's in a satirical way. That's kind of how it is, in a sad way too. But like I said, I just have always had that opinion that I really don't. I know I would get caught up in it. I know I would get caught up in the negativity and the comparisons and the this and then that, and what are people posting and what's going on, like, and I used to always have that, like, younger, not like before the social media age, but very much like that FOMO thing with my friends. Like, if I wasn't at a party or something, I'd be like, what am I missing on?
Yeah.
Like, I need to be there.
I think one of the biggest shames of all of this is the way that society is interacting with itself. Everyone's walking around with heads down.
Yeah.
We're missing each other. We're not making that human connection. Part of the reason that I built this studio was to have individuals come in. And I just had my back works on yesterday, and I even invited my chiropractor just to say, come on in, talk about your story. What was it like? What was the journey like to become a chiropractor? The students, I'm sure there's a bunch that would like to know, what's it like being a chiropractor? But, you know, just there are some beautiful interactions, getting out of yourself. It would solve so many social, so much social awkwardness if we got out of our phones more and started interacting. But what can we do
But even before that, just let me jump back,
Yeah,
because Dave did say something about, like, you knew that for yourself. You knew you
Yeah.
didn't want to engage but that's self-awareness. And I think that that's something that so many people lack, and they're unable to look inwardly and notice that and identify that about themselves, their ability to
Right.
kind of get pulled in. So it's like, again, like, how do we now gain that?
So Fozzie says, how do you feel about people who get famous off of social media like TikTok and Instagram? Well,
About that.
yeah. I can tell you that I'm not a big influencer, but I have been a micro influencer in time. In times past, I've had people send me stuff to review. I've got a bunch of stuff over in the corner that I meant to review. I've got a box downstairs filled with things that have been sent to me. And, it's weird, as I traveled across the country 5 years ago, that I met fans along the way just to, and they're like, oh, and they bought me lunch, and it's just, it's weird. It's something, it's kind of easy money at that point, but it's not as well, because you end up getting all of these, if you can't emotionally handle yourself, you end up with all the things, the social issues and the anxiety issues that we've been talking about. And if you can't handle that, then
that's exactly what I was thinking. I mean, I don't have any problem with someone trying to create an image or to create some type of influence and make money or whatever it is. It's just that's not for everybody.
No.
So when a lot of people look at that, they think it's easy, they think it's effortless, and it's just like, just a quick get rich quick type of scheme. But the negative of that, about keeping up with that level of fame, about dealing with the negativity,
it's hard work.
and that's the point. So it's like, what are you willing to sacrifice? Are you going to lose a sense of self-image? Are you always going to be able to keep up with that rate of what you're doing? I mean, if you look at, for example, the early stage of people like that, right? I would view as like the guys from Jackass, right? Those guys were like original, like they would have been like big time influencer types from my generation, right? Like the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. Those guys, many of them are a complete mess now.
Yeah.
Complete mess.
Yeah.
And they were doing things, filming things, putting things out there, had a show, wildly popular, making movies, all these things. And we've had, there have ones who've passed away.
Yeah.
We've had people who have major mental health issues.
Yeah.
And they have all this money, they had all that fame, but it was fleeting. They couldn't keep up with it. They didn't even want it. I mean, they're doing things that are completely reckless. So it becomes like, what is the trade-off? What are you losing from that? So not everybody is made to do those things. And when students see it, and when adults see it, right, they want to say, oh, I'm going to start my own YouTube channel, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. I could do that. It becomes an issue of competition, exposure, criticism, and not everybody's built, like I said, with that kind of thick skin to say, well,
Take the good with the bad.
right, it's both, right?
The only way to maintain it is to be yourself. So if you can go online and literally be yourself, and not have to put up a front, to not kind of act every single time, you're not going to be able to keep at it. So those that are authentic are going to be able to hang in there, and especially if they can handle the anxiety and everything else that comes with it.
Can I just share one thing, because I know we're up against it?
Please do it.
Just it goes off the question of what can we do about it. So I told you last week, I mentioned about this Transcendentalist project where I had the students for a week. These were the things: being self-reliant, allowing time to yourself to reflect, spending time in nature, being optimistic, being intuitive, going with their instinct, looking for the goodness in others, and living life simply without a dependency on technology. So I just finished that project up on yesterday, and the students submitted. These are like journals that they were submitting, and they wrote in them all these things from the week, reflections that were positive. And this is just one student's final reflection for the week. She went into the project with an average screen time of 4 hours and 35 minutes. She wound up after the week of Transcendentalism with a focus on this at 46 minutes a day. And she writes in her final reflection about her experience. She said, if I'm going to be honest, this week was one of the least stressful weeks this whole school year. I've had more time to do things since I got off of my phone. I only used it for educational purposes the whole week. I was more open-minded and I listened to others' advice. After this week, I honestly feel more relaxed, happy, and satisfied. Putting my phone down gave me more time with my family and friends, and I finished my homework earlier as well. I also slept way earlier than I used to. I tried my best to be self-reliant. I didn't ask for help every time I couldn't do something. I kept on trying until I got it right. I am honestly surprised that I was able to stay off my phone for that long. I'm proud of myself for not giving up, and I might even try a few of these things on my own in the future. Like, that's just a reflection of a kid who took a week, and this project was just take a week and just try to be like, to chill out a little bit, to get off the social media, to limit your screen time, to just get back to like simplicity. And almost to the kid, they all said the week was better as a result. Differing degrees of it, but just the idea that it's possible, right? These are kids who are 16, 17 years old, who've been on this phone and doing the same things for a long time. And now they see that it's possible. They also see the benefits of it. The hard part is, can they stick with it? And for how long will that kind of thing last?
Yeah, I mean, they don't necessarily. I mean, it's fantastic what you do with your students, and they don't necessarily need to go full bore and kind of go a full transcendental week and practices like that. A simple, you know what? Instead of doing TikTok for an hour, I'm just going to go out for a walk. And get some fresh air. So
limit themselves. You could actually put it on your phone. You could limit times to
different
things. You
things
can set
that
yourself
you're
to
doing.
it. If you can't do it yourself, if you're not strong enough to do it, I think if you get your family involved in it too, like say, like everybody, look, we're putting our phones here during this time. We're watching a show together. We're eating dinner together.
Dinner together. Like such a big one.
Create those kind of environments. Because, you know, you get to a point where if nobody's checking you on it, right? Like, I'm lucky enough to have my 3 kids, and 2 of them are old enough that they tell me. They say, like, Dad, get off your phone. I'm doing something. I'm trying to do a cartwheel. Like, whatever it is. Or, Dad, look at me.
I'd be like, oh, like, that's important.
Yeah. But and when they say that, it kills me. And I'm like, what a jerk. Like, put your damn phone. Like, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, I could watch crypto tank another time. You know,
They can.
But again, I think that's it, right? Being more mindful, looking at the things around you, trying to figure out what's important and what you can refocus on. Like,
Yeah.
that's huge. Like spending more time with your family. You know,
Yep.
for me, when the baby goes to sleep, like making sure that I'm spending time with my husband and not scrolling on,
Yeah.
you know,
that's it too.
Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, going out, grabbing a coffee with your friend, and sitting down, putting your phones away, actually spending time with each other.
Leave your phone in the car.
You know, these are just incredible skills that if you develop, they're just going to stay with you for a lifetime, as is being addicted to social media.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so let's see. Oh, let's see. Brianna, that was a new subscriber I got announced. Hi, Brianna.
What's boy?
Boy, F1 for your information. VO.
I don't know what VOY
Yeah,
means. Yeah,
sorry.
you have to explain
I'm
that
not-
to
yeah,
us. This young
sorry, not
generation.
sure what that one is.
I'm old.
Probably something.
Video of the year.
Oh yeah, is it? Yeah,
don't
it could be. It could be.
That sounds better.
I'm
That
telling
sounds
you, I'm
great.
making it very optimistic, Brianna. If you want to explain to us what
Yeah,
that
that's
means,
definitely what it means.
it's probably something really
It's
vulgar
definitely
and
video of the
inappropriate.
year. I'm gonna search it up.
Yeah, but we
video of the year.
we appreciate Fozzy Osbourne, the input.
Mr. Putta,
Mr. Putta,
for
thank
tuning
you.
in.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Brianna.
Brianna, thank
if
you.
if that's a compliment, thank you.
If it's not, we'll work on
It's
it.
definitely a compliment. It's definitely a compliment.
Either way, we'll do something about it.
No,
Either
and
more
even
of it or less of it.
Yeah, and even people, those of you that didn't participate, hopefully next time you'll be willing to. But really, truly, thank you everyone for
Yeah, thanks for
tuning
showing
in.
up. Much appreciated. We'll get the phone sorted out as well. So any of you that want to venture into the old, join in.
Brianna, we're really waiting for you to tell us what
I'm
that
looking
is.
it up. It just says "voy" means I am going. Maybe it's
Yeah,
in-
like
in
yo
Spanish.
boy, I know that. Oh, you're leaving right now. You were saying you were getting off. Is that it?
No. No.
Listen, either way, it's going to bother me the rest of the night. Thanks.
I'm going to tell all my students tomorrow that this was video of the year, as said by.
Listen, I'm going to have to
Brianna.
make an announcement tomorrow to get to the bottom of this. If you're a tech student, I'm telling you.
It feels like it might be, but anyway.
I'm going to have to find you.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching.
Have a
Tune
good
in.
night.
Same time, same place